Welcome everyone to our regularly scheduled AMA community call for BrightID, GM, all across the world. So this is another one that's wide open. So you can ask anything you want. And let's see if anyone here has anything on their mind that they'd like to talk about.
I'll bring something up. There's been multiple discussions recently in the Discord about different groups being interested in effectively running their own connection parties, which I think is really interesting and a good development. And we should also think about what that should look like, how that should be different than what we've been doing, because we're gonna right, and some groups may choose to, may want, oh, if my seed group has validated the person, like that's good enough, but a different seed group hasn't. Like, how do we help that? How do we help everybody be successful in that disjointed world? Because ultimately, having more people that can serve that role is great, but it will make it more disjointed.
Okay, so yeah, that's an interesting topic. Yeah, I mean, I think that BrightID relies on the fact that the world is going to become connected. I mean, the world is connected, but that it will stay connected, and the people, like the different pockets of BrightID people, will become interconnected. It doesn't, I mean, you can kind of do it with silos. You can say, okay, I've got my community and I'm making a verification just for my community. And then give the verification just to your community. So that is possible. And just to say, like, it just doesn't give you a verification for another community, and we don't accept verifications from other communities. It's just ours. You get verified here. It works here for our stuff. Like, however they want to do it, if they want to do like a Zoom meeting, whatever it is, however they know each other. And then then there's certain apps that use that, so you can like come together, get verified, then leave, and still use those electronic apps to get verified with those. And you can do it in a sort of like a pseudonymous way, where it's like, okay, we came together and then we all got verified, and then we all split up, and now we're doing like anonymous voting or something like that. You could use your BrightID in that. So go ahead, Philip. You sound like you had something to say.
Yeah, I think it's not great for users if they're like, oh, I thought I was verified, but now I got to go. Like, nobody wants to go to 5 different connection parties for 5 different communities that they're part of. People complain enough about going to one connection party. So
yeah, but yeah, it's true. But if that community does things differently enough, that just may be the way it is.
My guess is that it's something that they think that they want more than they would actually want in reality. And this gets back to our constant problem of how do you make it both sufficiently accurate at civil defense and sufficiently easy for a person to get onboarded into it. Going to 5 different connection parties in 5 different communities fails the second test.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of depends. I can definitely see cases where, and I've heard people tell me of cases where that's really what they want. Like, they just want to verify their community. Like, they just want to have control over verifying their community. It's kind of like they treat it like a small closed off group. I don't want to stifle that. Yeah, I see what you're saying, that people are like, oh man, I have to do this BrightID thing again with a different community. But I don't think it's going to feel like that for communities that are doing that right. I think it'll be like, okay, now we in this community need to make BrightID connections. Or let's say that you're getting B2 verified with people that you already know. You're already really tight with like community A and community B. Maybe they're not tight with each other, but you're tight with both of them. You're just to increase your B2 score for app C, you've made a connection in community A and community B. They said each one of them says, hey, you need to make a connection in our community. You go back and you find out, oh, I'm already verified in both of those because I made a connection here, I made a connection there, and I'm already well on my way to getting that B2 verification because I made a connection to both. So things like that can happen.
Or for example, there's people out at East Denver right now making connections, and they're going to come back and they're going to be connected all sorts of different communities because they were just walking around a conference and touched all sorts of communities. As we already know, right? We give them meets verification because you connected to people that are members of particular seed groups. But you get that meets verification whether or not you went to the meet or not. It's that you made the connection. If someone connects to me, they get a meets connection, even though really they're just my friend and I happened to connect to them. Hopefully, I gave them a sufficient amount of information as a user would have learned in meets because I take it seriously. But it doesn't actually mean you went to a meet. Nor do I think we want it to, right? We're not saying you have to go to a meet. So yeah, I guess partly that's a wording, that's a semantic issue.
Yeah. Although one of the cool things about BrightID is that after you get verified, it doesn't stop for you. So you can kind of relax a little bit and be like, okay, I got the verifications I needed for the apps I want to use. But if you're part of communities, or even if everybody's got friends or families that may become interested in the same sorts of things that got them interested, you get to kind of be a helper to help other people get verified. So you can come to those community connection parties and be like a seed helper. You can be the one that helps other people get verified. So yeah, you don't have to stop. Let me see if any of these questions have to do with this particular topic, because I see a really interesting one that is a different topic, but I think there might also be a couple questions about this topic. Is there any plan for interoperability between community silos, different communities? An app can select from multiple existing trusted apps. They would be able to bootstrap much easier. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So you could set your verification. You can already do this. So let's say that you find out, so you go to explore.brightid and you're browsing the different seed groups. A lot of them have names that you can recognize. So you can look at those seed groups and you can say, oh, look, Songedao has a community seed group. Raid Guild has one. Meta Cartel Ventures has one. You can look at like all the different seed groups and you can say, okay, well, I trust that community, that community, that community, that community. You can pick like 10 of them and say, okay, my app will trust someone who has a verification from one of those. So yes, that is possible for bootstrapping. Every time people have to join, okay. Is every time people have to join Zoom meeting for verifying an account become all time it's not possible? Is it possible to verify anyone without making connection with you? Yes, that's kind of what we're talking about, is the seed group. We're talking about, we're talking about how if you become a member of a community that has a seed group and you become, actually you would have to become, there's groups in BrightID and you would have to join that group. So the admins of that seed group would have to let you into the group to give you the power to verify. So what we suggest is that if there's community members that are regular attenders of community calls and kind of helpers. They can add them to the seed group, and then they have the ability to verify people in their community. So Cody asks, how can I do that in an automated way for my app? So right now that app registration, you can do that in an automated way for your app. What you can do is, yes, that's a good point. There's no documentation on that, but there is a way in the verification endpoint. You can actually put in which verification you want to get back from your verification endpoint. So you can type that in the URL. You can say, check this ID, this user ID. It's not their BrightID, because you don't know that, but their user ID in your app. You can say, okay, do they have, and then you can query for the verification. You can say, do they have seed, and these are the 10 seed groups. You can actually put that in the query. You can also register that with your app, so that becomes the default query when you register your app. But even if you don't do that, you can just add it to the query string. So yeah, if you need, I apologize if that's not documented, and if other than in the API docs, but it's not like documented in a guide. So if you need help making sure you get it right, just come by Discord and we'll help you do that. And we can help you in the integration channel.
Adam, if you did a custom one like that, how would your users know?
Yeah, that's a tricky thing. Like, it wouldn't show up in that. So that's a nice thing about actually registering that, which verification you're using, or verifications, because it's possible to have multiple verifications. In the next release of the BrightID mobile app, it shows more clearly like what users have to do to get verified in your app. Each app has a full page now, and it shows within that app, it says, these are the verifications you need to get, and it shows your users, do they have them? And if there's more than one, so it's kind of like, if it's an and, like maybe it'll say B2 and this seed or something like that. If there's an and in the verifications, it'll tell them you have this one, but you don't have this one yet. For an or, I'm not sure how that works from the UI standpoint, but I'm sure it's something similar. It's like, okay, you checked the box, you got this verification. So yeah, to do that, I think you should register whichever verification you're going to choose with the app registry, so that it'll show up in the BrightID mobile reference app for your users.
Can you have one that, so right now, a just met connection from the seed is like the criteria. Could you have it that you have to be already known by that seed instead?
No, that's not a verification method that we've created, I guess you could say. So you can't go that custom without. For that, you would actually, like some node dev would have to build that one for you. It wouldn't be hard to build, but to go that custom, yeah, some customizations require like building a new verification type and running it on a node.
I can actually see that being a desirable one.
Sure.
where applications can say like, all right, here's 10 communities that we trust. You need to have 3 already known connections to people in this list.
Yeah, you can't just stop in and say hi and make some connections to people you just met. Yeah, you have to like be in that community. Yeah, I can see that.
Because the more different communities we have that are like effectively running connection parties, right? The easier it is to be the traveler.
Yeah, to be the tourist, the tourist, the Fight Club attack, where it's like, they go around to all these different help groups, and nobody knows that they're doing that because those different groups don't really talk to each other. So
Now, that said, each of those groups that he was touristing at would have marked him as already known, because he didn't just go once, he went multiple times.
yeah,
He actually
that's
really
true.
did become a member of each of those communities.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
in that case, they would have marked him as already known.
Yeah, and so that's why even that is not like that even that sort of verification. You can't just say, oh well, this is stronger, this is going to prevent like small scale Sybil attacks. Even that one, you can even be a tourist for already known. But the thing that yes, but our new verifications that that are like Aura is one that is meant to like Aura is specifically designed to stop those small scale Sybil attacks, because it requires the people that help you to get verified, the Aura players, to do honesty research on you and look at like who, not just how well they know you, but also like who you're connecting to. If you like, if you're connected to the people that they expect you to be connected to. So in other words, if I know, let's say I know Philip really well, and I feel like that as an Aura player, that I can give him some honesty points because I know him that well and I've done my research. The research that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my Philip connection that I have and see that, he's connected to his wife, he's connected to his kids, he's connected to the friends that we have in common. If there's like half of those people are missing, then it's like, is there another Philip somewhere that maybe has that other half, and he's got two BrightID accounts that are both getting verified in some way, and he's using some other Aura player to verify himself using the other half of his already known connections. So that's really that's the type of like in-depth honesty research that needs to be done to stop a small scale Sybil attack like that. So that's what the Aura game does. It takes a small pool of expert players, and you need to connect to one, and they will, they'll go beyond what a normal BrightID connection does, and they'll look at based on their knowledge of you, they'll look at like how you're making connections and make sure you're not doing something like that. But we don't expect, like at the beginning, we kind of thought, oh, BrightID players are going to, like BrightID users, normal BrightID users are going to do that. They're going to look through their connection lists. They're going to look for duplicates. Nope, that's not what they do. So that's why we need this like whole other game, if you will, where the real Sybil battleground is taking place and where the experts are there playing. So, okay, so how does B2 verification work? And integration of NFTs. Okay, so let's go to let's do these one at a time. So you had the NFT verification with BrightID. So NFT verification. So are you asking taking an NFT and using that, like being able to say, okay, I got this NFT and I want that to help my verification level in some way? Is that what we're talking about, Joshua? Like, let's say you got some credential. Let's say you one of these Soulbound NFTs that Vitalik has been talking about, and you use that. Or let's say you got a
Or is he saying you give an NFT to everyone in a group?
Okay. With BrightID groups. Okay. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Okay.
More information.
Yeah. No, that's what, okay. So I think you're right, Philip. I think that's what he's talking about. Because there's a couple of interesting things you can do with BrightID. So integration of an NFT with BrightID groups. So in other words, if you got this seed verification, you get this NFT that goes along with your seed verification that says that you connected to this BrightID group. I mean, that's kind of what you kind of get. So it's not an NFT, but that would be interesting to like mint something for those people that have that. Like the group could be in charge of minting that. Yeah, that's interesting. Is B2 using any project yet? It's in the works for some projects. I don't think I can say what they are. Oh yeah, VIP pass. So speaking of VIP passes, so there's some interesting stuff about that. Yeah, so yeah, we can definitely do that. Yeah, you could do that. You could say, okay, everybody who, because I think that goes along with POAPs. So one of the things that we want to do is have better integration with BrightID and POAPs, so that you can say, maybe you could say something like that. You could say, okay, I'm giving this POAP to anyone who connected with this BrightID group. So, so if you, yeah, you made this connection, you also register an address, or we give you, we allow you to mint a POAP into an address of your choosing if you had, like, we only send these out to people who are verified. Like we use a POAP bot to do that, to take people that have because we already have like a BrightID Discord unique bot. So let's say that you used like a Discord bot to do it. You could say, okay, if you can show this Discord bot that you have this seed verification because you've connected to this community, then you can also withdraw, you can mint a POAP from that represents that seed group. So yeah, that's an interesting idea.
We'll also put out, just on the other side of that, is that we think that NFTs and BrightID verification marry up well to prove more about the NFT community itself. Right? It's what I believe is that what makes NFTs valuable is the community that's supporting them. The more the merrier, right? If you have 10,000 NFTs, if that's owned by 10,000 people, that's way better than if that's owned by 100 people. And we can't use wallet addresses as an accurate proxy for that, because people have lots and lots of wallet addresses, especially the kind of people that would like to pretend that the NFT project that they're shilling has a really vibrant community. They have a very big incentive to split it among addresses. We've definitely seen that happen in real life. But with BrightID, you could have, much like Song a Day is doing, in their Discord, there's a channel in which you have to own at least one of the NFTs and be BrightID verified. And the combination of those things lets you know that at a minimum, we have this many unique users. Not everyone will go through that, but it lets you have that minimum knowledge of users, which I think could be appealing to a lot of projects if they really leaned into that. Imagine a project that could prove how many unique holders they had.
Okay. And it looks like Cody just has a question about like getting the help that he needs with registration. So I'll make sure that happens, Cody.
And Cody, if you're not in the integrations section of the Discord yet, you'll definitely want to get there by what's the thing they click on?
Yeah, so you choose interest. There's a choose interest channel, and if you choose integrations, then it opens up some channels for you. So yeah, integrator. Choose integrator. It looks like a tool, a hammer and wrench. If you pick that, then it'll open up an integration channel for you to ask integration questions like you've been asking. Okay, and he says I was the last message in the integrations channel. Okay. Yep, I'll make sure that you get the attention that you need, Cody. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to follow along with some of these. Let's see. POAP BrightID integration with functions similar to those of Collabland would be a practical way to explain the idea. Yep. Yeah, so there is a, yeah, actually, if you choose the stack of books, see integrations in progress, there's there is a POAP bot, although it hasn't received attention for a while, but the degen bot that Bankless, I think it was Bankless that funded that, the creation of the degen POAP bot. They want to, or we want to, and I guess they want to extend that to have BrightID functionality. So do some of the things that we were talking about. Now let's see. So yep. Any other interesting topics? What's this? Anyways, yeah. Any other topics that are on people's minds right now? I'm gonna actually answer the Discord thing right now on this call that's being recorded. Sorry. So I'm gonna take like a minute break. So.
One of the things I'll let people know about that I think is cool, and that some folks on the team, and Michael in particular, have been hard at work figuring out how to allow your BrightID to exist on multiple devices. This is a feature we've wanted for a really long time. And Michael, you want to give an update on how that's going?
Yeah, I can do this. So right now we have the code in a separate branch, which will allow us to import your BrightID on additional devices. So the current idea is that you can, for example, if you have two phones, you have your BrightID application on one phone, you can install it on the another phone and then import your existing BrightID from the first phone, so you can really use it on both devices. So this will be the first kind of rollout. And yeah, I think there were some more ideas to also enable applications to make use of your BrightID. Yeah, but that's still in kind of discussion. Yeah, maybe Adam can give a better overview because he was involved in the discussion more than I on this. Yeah, giving apps access.
Oh yeah, giving apps access. Yeah, so the first one that we need that for is Aura. But yeah, you can so our kind of long-term vision for the BrightID mobile app is that it's your manager of permissions that you give to other devices and also to other special types of apps. So there's the BrightID apps that are looking for your verification. And then there's other types of apps. And for now, I think we're calling them client apps, although we may come up with a name that makes this distinction better and easier for people to think about. But there's a special type of app that is like what the BrightID app does now. It allows you to make connections, allows you to do those functions. We don't want the BrightID mobile reference app to be the only one thing that can do that, but it should be a manager of apps that can do that. So you can give a permission to, let's say that there's a better, I don't know, you can almost think of it as like wallets in the Ethereum ecosystem or something. There's multiple wallets that you can use. And so if there's multiple BrightID client apps that allow you to make connections and do stuff like that, there may be one that people like better that maybe isn't even built by BrightID, but you should be able to authorize that one.
I would say for non-technical people, it's like you can get your email on a whole bunch of different devices. And right, so you've got your one Gmail account and you can access it through gmail.com, but you can get it on your Apple phone through it's an iOS device, but your Gmail shows up just fine in there. And you could also put it on your Android tablet and whatever else you want. They can all send and receive email from that same account.
Yep, exactly. And because in the case of BrightID, you have one BrightID per person. You need a way to manage if you're using more than one, if you're using more than one device, if you're using more than one app of these client apps to make connections, you need a way to manage it. And so that's what the BrightID app will become. And it'll be done in a decentralized way. So it's using the BrightID network. The node operators know which apps you've authorized. So behind the scenes, you're managing cryptographic signing keys that you can assign and revoke to these different apps and different devices. But you need some sort of management tool to be able to do that. So that's what that is. So the difference between something like that and Google is that Google is a centralized thing, and they've got their one like single source of truth, whereas in the BrightID network, the source of truth as to which apps you've allowed that you've authorized is spread out among multiple BrightID nodes in a more decentralized fashion. But you kind of still need a way, like a single way to control all of that, to authorize all of that, so that it ties, so that you don't end up having like 5 different BrightIDs inadvertently because you're using 5 devices and 5 apps. We want people who are want that functionality. And I think it's a good functionality because it's kind of like a it allows other clients, and also it allows you to, we've had a lot of requests for people wanting to back up their BrightID data on other devices so that they have kind of like a faster way to recover than social recovery, even though social recovery is actually, if you've set it up correctly, it's pretty smooth, it's pretty fast. People want that, maybe they don't want to ask like their mom and their sister to help them move to a different device. They just want to do it on their own. So it's kind of like a faster but less authoritative way, because if someone steals your device, you can still go back and social recover, and that kind of it trumps everything that like the device recovery and those signing keys that you've authorized if you do a social recovery. But it does allow you this quick way to like migrate between devices, stuff like that. So that's why
I'll poke you devs again that as we're adding more and more functionality and getting excited and doing more with BrightID, power users should be able to have a secure recovery. 2 of N, it's not good enough, man. I want that to be a higher number.
Okay, someone's asking like when POAP. So I think we'll see more POAPs given out by BrightID once we have that POAP bot integration that we've been talking about, because that's something that we want for ourselves too. Like we want a better POAP bot. We want a better way to distribute POAPs that's like, harder for people to claim multiple POAPs, but still do it in a bot, through a bot. So yeah, that's why we're kind of waiting to start up the POAPs again until we have that bot working.
Sorry, I had technical issues. Did you guys hear or answer my question about increasing the recovery connection security?
Oh no, I was answering a different question about when POAP.
My computer blew up for a second. My question was, yeah.
No, we heard your question though. Your question is when can we as a power user, because I'm thinking like a new BrightID user isn't going to know enough.
Right, not a new user. Like yeah. Even like, dude, you've got to fill all your, you've got to do a bunch of achievements before it like unlocks the ability to do that. I don't want everyone to do it. I want it to be possible to do it. especially because I want BrightID to be able to be used. If we build up the social recovery such that it really works and is robust, you should put other things behind that social recovery, not just your BrightID. I mean, I'd love to have wallets protected by it, but I'm not going to do that until it's a little bit more secure. Because right now, you don't. Right. It's publicly viewable who my recovery connections are. Maybe not their names, but if they're connections, you can tell who my recovery connections are. You only have to, get either turn or coerce 2 of those people.
Yeah. Securing a wallet using BrightID, or also securing an app using BrightID is interesting. I think I think the case for like securing a wallet that can hold fungible tokens in it is like, I think that needs some more thought. Although I did put a post on like, using like basically exporting your social recovery using like Shamir secret sharing to like secure something else outside of BrightID with the same social recovery. So it's possible, but I think we're a ways off from trying to implement that. But we're very close to the Soulbound NFT. So if you have something like a credential that you want to secure with your BrightID, that's really cool. Or if you have, let's say, an app wants to do that. An app says, okay, I want the account to be attached to the BrightID in such a way that, like in a soulbound way, so that you can recover your account using BrightID, using social recovery. You can recover your account. You could do that with an NFT. Like you could imagine an app says, okay, you're a new user here. Tell us which account you're linking with your I'm thinking of like an Ethereum address because we're talking about NFTs. Which Ethereum address are you going to link today to BrightID? And then you make that link. They drop, you go through whatever registration you need to register with that app. They drop the NFT that says, okay, this is your account. Then as you use that app, and maybe whatever you build up some sort of reputation, or you build up some sort of like history with that app, then if you don't want to lose it, like let's say you lost that Ethereum address. Well, in the old days, that's like kind of like, oops, you lost your Ethereum address. Oh, you mean you didn't set it up? You didn't set it up as a like a multi-sig or something, so that you didn't set up your own like custom rolled like recovery for that. Oops, I guess you lost your account. You don't get that history back. We don't recognize you as the same user as before because you lost access to your Ethereum address, or it was compromised or whatever. So so the BrightID solution is with BrightID Soulbound, you can say, okay, well, this was like my NFT that represents my usage of that app is in this Ethereum wallet, but I can move it to a different one, and I can move it to a different one even if I lose access to that wallet. So if my NFT is stuck in this wallet and I basically need to rescue it for whatever reason, maybe I was bribed, maybe it was stolen, maybe I just lost access, I can use BrightID Soulbound to say, okay, this is my new address, and that NFT will move will magically move to the new address that you've said. So this makes a truly soulbound NFT, because you can't sell it, because like whoever you sell it to knows that if they buy it from you, you can just move it to a different address. So there's no point in selling your address, because it could just move out.
Adam, what if you don't? What if the person somehow they don't know? Is there a chance that? Right.
Oh yeah, you could. Well, no, I mean, I totally welcome scam the scammers. Like if someone tries to bribe you, accept the bribe and then just steal the thing that.
No,
that
no, no.
they-
What I mean is, all right, I've got a cool NFT membership card. It's soulbound, but the other person doesn't know that it's soulbound.
Yeah, so then
Right.
you become the scammer because you're like,
I'm
hey,
the
buy
scammer,
this
right? Because
thing
I
from me.
sell it to them and then I steal it back.
Yeah,
Because like it's kind of crazy. So we're right. We're talking about someone else can take something out of your wallet. That sounds scary.
yeah.
And I don't understand technically how that can work, but I know you all smart people
Mhm.
have figured it out. But
Yep.
So right, a mainnet NFT, I can see it in my wallet. I send it over to a different wallet that was also connected to my BrightID, but maybe I could just do that action. It really moves, and now I can go without that address taking any action whatsoever. Suddenly, it disappears.
Right. It moves to the next address that gets registered by the BrightID. Yep.
I guess that makes sense because, like, if I go on OpenSea and I approve a sale, it's sitting in that NFT sits in my wallet, and then at some point when some other action happens, it leaves my wallet without me taking any action. Now it was a pre-action, or it's like the poor people that set up a sale with no expiration on OpenSea. They moved it out of the wallet, and then at some point they moved it back, and it sold because they had no expiration. That approval was still on, which apparently they're fixing right now, and everyone needs to. Everyone's listings are going to expire like in the next day or two, and this problem will be no more. That if you move it, it will auto expire the listing, because that happened to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, those the BrightID Soulbound thing is going to be really interesting. And I expect there to be a lot of interest in that. It allows you to, because I think BrightID has the best recovery method possible for things. I mean, social recovery is a really good recovery method. So if you have a credential in the form of an NFT, you have it in this wallet, and you lose access to that wallet, you just lean on BrightID to allow you to, so to be clear, the NFT has to be using the BrightID Soulbound standard for that to work. But once they have that set up, then it's like you register your new BrightID. You register your new address with BrightID with your BrightID. It doesn't actually even share your BrightID. It shares a UUID to keep it more private. But yeah, you register the new UUID with a new wallet, and then it just magically moves it to that wallet. So
Adam,
nice.
do you have to sign with that address to link it to your BrightID, as opposed to just like entering it?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to prove ownership of that. And in fact, the way we have it set up, you don't even, so you have to actually sign something, not just be the message sender, so that you can't get front run. Otherwise someone could steal these intermediate IDs that you're using. So yeah, there's some technical descriptions in a few different places of how that works. I think there's a pretty recent forum post that I did. That outlines the basics, and then there's actual code, but I don't think the code is public yet. But it should be pretty soon. Like once it's done, I expect Mr. Plus to make that code.
I think I saw. I think he even asked to move it over into the BrightID GitHub.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, we can expect to see BrightID Soulbounds really soon. Like that. It was a great idea, and it moved very quickly into like an actual implementation. So that'll be exciting. That is something exciting that we can recommend to apps and projects. Well, I think that might be a good place to end the discussion. I've really appreciated the questions, and yeah, I hope that we can do that. Like the people who have expressed interest today in integrations, I hope we can make those happen for you. And yeah, I'm really excited for the new stuff that's coming out in BrightID. So I think that ends it. I'll stop the recording. Bye, everybody. Thanks for showing up.